Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Montana Farm Bureau Field Notes podcast. My name is Haley Droogsma, for those of you who don't know me, and today we have an extra special guest. Joining us from Georgia is American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duvall. President Duvall, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you. I've been looking forward to this.
Yes, I'm excited as well. You're such a powerful figurehead for our organization, and I'm excited to kind of peel back your layers and get to know you a little bit more as an individual. And I figure there's no better place to start with that than the very beginning. So if you want to, I would love if you could just tell a little bit about your involvement in agriculture, how that started, how your upbringing went, and just describe all of that.
Sure. Well, I grew up here on a dairy farm from a very young age. I remember my dad, they were in the dairy business and then went out. And then when I was 8 years old, he announced to me and my brothers that we were back in the dairy business and he didn't milk cows anymore. So we looked at each other and said, well, I guess we have a job. So I fell in love with it. My brothers hated it. And after I went to college, my dad had a massive heart attack. And I had to make the choice to either stay in college and finish college or to come home and farm. And of course, farming was my love. And I chose to come home and farm. So that was back in 1976. And I've been on the farm ever since. I spent 30 years dairying. Always wanted to be a beef cattle farmer. And once I got out of dairy business, I became a beef cattle farmer. So my son and I have about 400 brood cows here. And in the 80s, during a difficult time, we was having a hard time making ends meet with dairy. We went into the poultry business. So this is my 39th year of growing chickens.
Wow.
And to grow chickens under contract with Pilgrim Pride that ends up at Chick-fil-A. They have the Chick-fil-A contract. But we grow about 1.5 million broilers a year here.
Wow.
So I still have a big farm. In my area, it's a huge farm. In your area, maybe not so quite so big. But in my area, I'm a big farmer and got 4 employees, and my son is a veterinarian, and I work off the farm. He and I both work off the farm. We keep it together.
Wow.
Yeah, and as far as Farm Bureau, when I came back home and was still eating breakfast at my mama's house, my daddy, he'd sit there and listen to me complain about regulation and milk prices and all that stuff, and he said, well, if you want to do something about that, you're going to have to get off your farm, get outside your fence rows, and be involved in something bigger than you. And he took me to Farm Bureau, and that's where it got started.
Wow. So that's impressive. Did you just start at the county level, and then is that how you worked your way up to where you are now? Do you want to describe that?
My first meeting, I came home the young farmer chairman. So. Wow.
Yep. That's how a lot of people get their start.
That's exactly right. They saw a young man that was interested and said, let's grab him while we can, and then several years later, my Farm Bureau field rep, talked me and my wife, Bonnie, at that time, into filling out the Young Farmer Award. And that was 1981. We won the state and then went on to the national level in 1982 in January and won the national level in 1982. And after that, we went on state committee, served as chairman there, was nominated to national committee, served as chairman there my second year. And then I went back home and served my community for 25 years as county commissioner chair, served on the rural electric board as chair there, and then was elected onto the board of directors of Georgia Farm Bureau. And everybody else knows what happened then. I became president there and then became president here at American Farm Bureau.
That's pretty impressive leadership resume you have there.
Well, God opens up doors, and you have to test them out and pray about whether or not that's the door where you need to be going through. So
that's awesome. That's amazing. What's one lesson from your upbringing and your work in agriculture that you say you applied during all those different leadership roles?
Yeah, work hard, build relationships. And my dad always said, if you don't get it done before lunch, you're not going to get it done. So whatever I've gotten done is about all I'm going to get done today because I got to go to the airport. So
got to get on it. Got to get on it early. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I know that especially in Montana, we have some pretty active collegiate chapters and a lot of young people that are looking to get involved. So I want to know if you had to give one piece of advice to a young person that's wanting to become more involved in agriculture in general or the Farm Bureau specifically, what would that be?
Yeah, be a good time manager. Because you got to manage your time to be able to be involved in an organization like this to really get the good out of it and really be able to contribute. So once you set your life priorities, which in my life is my God, my family, my farm, and then Farm Bureau. And once you set those priorities, be a good time manager and make sure that you stay focused on what's important. And you know, don't ever underestimate yourself.
For sure.
I was a young dairyman that didn't finish college, not for my choice, but because I had the opportunity, I had to either take it or leave it, and I took it to farm. And it really, truly is the American dream, because I became something that I didn't really think I was capable of becoming. And I know God in every turn opened that door and gave me the abilities to do it, and still does each and every day, including just a couple of weeks ago when I met with the President of the United States again. So.
Yes, that is awesome. So impressive how God has worked in your life and how you have worked to build up to where you are. That's amazing. With that, I know you're pretty busy right now, and it probably varies quite a bit, but we're just curious to know what a typical day in the life of Zippy Duvall looks like. I'm sure there's probably not one specific answer, but right now, maybe meeting with the president, coffee in the morning.
Well, I really think the only constant thing is I'm still a dairyman at heart. So I wake up really early. I drink that cup of coffee. I do my daily devotion. Most of the time with my wife, either in person or over the phone when I'm traveling. And then I start trying to read all the materials I have to read to stay up on all the issues that we face, whether they're our market intel or whether it's just the news, and trying to be able to be prepared to have those conversations wherever they're at. And then, then after that, I'm either in the office about 50% of the time, on Capitol Hill, in the White House, USTR, USDA, Department of Labor, Department of Interior, all over Washington. Or the other 50% of the time, I'm out in the countryside visiting with our grassroots, collecting their stories up. So when I do sit in front of the President of the United States, I might just share your story.
That's awesome. What great work you do and Farm Bureau work does. That's great. Just so much opportunity for involvement and all sorts of different things to be working at. Speaking of which, I was going to ask you, what are the most important issues that the American Farm Bureau is working on at a national level? And how do you think individual farmers and ranchers can aid in achieving those goals?
Well, how they can aid is make sure they're part of this organization and take advantage of all the opportunities that we have, help them grow to be a really good advocate. I wasn't born an advocate. Farm Bureau taught me how to be an advocate. I wasn't born to be a speech maker. Farm Bureau taught me how to do that. I wasn't born to educate legislators. Farm Bureau taught me how to do that. So you have to apply yourself and allow this organization to help you grow, and then you got to stay engaged. And what I mean by engaged is it could be anything from writing an email to your congressman, and for goodness sakes, in August this year, go to a town hall meeting, tell your story to the farmer, to the congressman or senator, to come into Washington to make a personal visit. And sometimes, if you really are engaged and you prepare yourself, we'll reach out and ask you to come testify in front of Congress on an issue during that time. That's how you can make a difference, not in just your life, but many, many people's lives. And God put us here to serve, not to be served. And I truly believe that Farm Bureau helps us actually do what God intends us to do, and that's serve other people. Now, as far as issues, the biggest issue we face right now is immigration reform and farm labor. Farm labor is the number one issue facing American agriculture. It's our biggest limiting factor. It keeps us from being the most productive that we can be. And two, it's not just a guest worker program anymore. It's about people that's been on our farms and ranches for 10, 15, 20 years that are undocumented. And might be the only opportunity we might have to find some way. I did not say amnesty, but some way to have adjustment of status or a work visa card that they can use to continue to stay on our farms, because they're basically part of our families now and part of our communities. And if they're good people and they're abiding by laws and they're not criminals, they should have the opportunity to be able to stay here and visit and work. But now, we agree with the president. If they're criminals and they're causing problems within our system, yes, they need to go back. But other than that, if they're just good, hardworking people trying to provide for their families and help us on our farms and ranches, then there should be some way to do that. So outside of labor, it's trade. It's finishing up the 2.0 Farm Bill. It is regulations, whether it be with labor or whether it be for pesticides or whatever. It's the MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. Not to be against it, but be part of the conversation. Be the solution, not the problem. And, the list goes on and on and on with tariffs and other things. And not more important than the other. It's whatever's the topic of the day and whatever's hottest on Congress and Capitol Hill.
Yeah, I am so grateful for all the work that Farm Bureau does, especially at a national level, because there are obviously so many issues running at a national level and so much complexity to all of them, as you mentioned. So it's important to have such involved staff and such involved just members of our organization. So that's great. I'm super glad to know that everyone is working hard on some of those issues. And like you said, the involvement of our farmers and ranchers is probably the most important thing as far as getting those different issues sorted out. And one of my favorite parts about Farm Bureau is just that there are so many different ways to get involved. Myself, I was involved in Collegiate Farm Bureau pretty heavily, and I loved it. I'm a communicator at heart, so that's what I'm doing here at the Montana Farm Bureau. So I've gotten so many opportunities from it, but I know everybody has a different lane, whether it's more on the legislative side. There's so many different avenues that people can find involvement in, whether it's more leadership oriented. That's by far one of my favorite parts about Farm Bureau, is just there's so many different ways to get involved. And then to wrap us up, I kind of have a few more fun rapid fire questions for you. The first one is, if you could swap jobs with any other farmer or rancher in the U.S. for 1 week, what kind of operation would you want to try?
I love cattle. And I'm not a really good horseman, but I like horses and mules and stuff like that. I really think I'd like to swap a week with a cattle rancher in the Flint Hills of Kansas, when the grass is lush and green. And I understand they kind of work them on side by sides now, but I'd want to pick one that's still working with horses and be able to. It had to be a real broke horse now, but one that couldn't hardly run anymore. But I think I would absolutely enjoy experiencing that and being part of that. So that. But then too, I love cattle. I wouldn't mind being a small dairyman again in northern New York in the summertime, of course, not winter. Because upstate New York is absolutely beautiful. We think of New York, we think of New York City, but if you've been in upstate New York in August, it is absolutely gorgeous. So I just think that would be a great experience.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I've never been that far east. I would love to go and see some of the more countryside of that area. It sounds pretty
Now, my lifelong desire would be to come home, find 5 or 6 young people that wanted to be in the dairy industry, find one that wanted to milk cows, one that wanted to grow grain and silage, one that wanted to be the herdsman, one that wanted to be the marketer, one that wanted to bottle of milk, and start our own brand. I would love to have a little co-op like that. Not for me, but for those young people helping me get started.
That would be awesome. That's a super cool goal. Yeah. Second up, what is your favorite meal? If you had your all-time favorite meal in front of you, what would that be?
Well, it'd be breakfast. I grew up eating breakfast after I'd done work 3 or 4 hours out in the barn, milking cows. And breakfast is always my favorite. And my mama could make a make milk gravy and sausage and biscuit that just make you scream. It was so good. So other meals, fried pork chop, of course, is at the top of the list. And, potato salad, and biscuits, and I'm just old country. I love cabbage and collards and greens and pretty much anything I like to eat lots of things.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like some good classic Southern food there.
And good cornbread,
Perfect.
Don't get much better than that.
Yeah, delicious.
Matter of fact, I just had a fried pork chop and cabbage, and it was delicious.
I bet it was. That's awesome. What's your favorite type of music? Do you have any favorite bands or artists that you listen to regularly?
I'm a country music fan, and George Strait is the king of music.
Heck yeah.
And, I can do some Kenny Chesney. I like Kenny Chesney.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten used to the new modern country. I've started listening to some of it. And it sounded a lot too much like rap, and I just couldn't hardly get into it. But finally, it's kind of grown on me. But George Strait is the king.
Yeah, that's tough to argue with. I'm with you there. This is another fun one. If you were stuck on a deserted island and you could only bring 3 things with you, what would they be?
My wonderful, lovely wife. 1. 2 would be a milk cow, because I love milk and cheese. And 3 would be a mule, because I could plow the ground and grow some.
Yeah, perfect. What kind of milk cow? Do you have a preference?
Well, I grew up with Holsteins, but I'd take a Jersey.
Yeah.
Because I like to make butter, too. So. Mm-hmm. And they got more butter fat.
Yes. Last one. I know you've been to all 50 states. And we're curious to know, everyone here is dying to know, what's your favorite thing about Montana?
Well, about Montana. The open spaces, the scenery, the low number of population, the summertime weather, not the winter time.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm tough enough to make the winter time up there. So, but the out of wintertime weather up there is gorgeous, and I'm not a skier, so I don't care for snow and ice and sleet. What I have learned, and this is interesting, old Southern boy like me, it comes snow and sleet and rain around here, and it's misty and cold, and it's like 38 degrees, and the wind's blowing, and it's damp, and it's cold. It's cold. But you get up, and I got mud because it didn't freeze. Mud up to your knees. But you go up there where you're at, the ground freezes, and it's just like feeding the cows on top of cement. It might be cold, but it's not as humid. So I don't really know. I need to see if I can try to make a winter up there one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my dad grew up on a dairy in Minnesota, and the humid cold there is pretty hardcore.
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal. I might not give it 2 weeks of it, but it was enough for me to say I didn't want none of this.
Yeah. I don't blame you at all. Well, that's awesome. Those are all the questions I have for you, unless there's anything else you want to share with our people.
I want to encourage people to tell their story. I don't care where it's at. It may be a grocery store, maybe church, maybe in Congress. And I tell you why. Because even as recently as 2 weeks ago when I met with the president, I realized people don't know what we do and why we do it. Because I had this unbelievable opportunity, because the president had MAHA on his mind, and the pesticides and crop protection tools. And he says, "Do you really need it?" And I said, "Yeah, we need it." "Well, tell me why." So I had the opportunity to do a science lesson for the President of the United States to explain to him why we needed glyphosate and atrazine, and why we trusted it, because his EPA says that if we use it according to the label, it's okay. And we talked about cattle. He wanted to know about cattle. He didn't know that cattle gave different amounts of milk.
Wow.
And he said, "Well, why they give different amount of milk?" Well, it might be genetics, it might be weather, it might be quality feed, they may not feel good that day. I had this great opportunity to talk about stuff that me and farmers and ranchers think very elementary, that the President of the United States did not know. And it's not his fault because, I mean, he's a real estate tycoon. Why should he know the cows get there for somebody like me? So tell your story, because the more people know it, the more people understand it, the less they are resistant to the things that we do. Because what comes with understanding is trust. And we need to continue to keep the trust that people have in us and in their food system.
I totally agree. Yep, 100%, especially with all the things going on at the national level right now. There's no better time, in my opinion, to be telling our story than right now. So.
And every one of them is important. Don't think your story is not important. They are all important.
I agree.
You know, how did crop insurance that's in the Farm Bill save your farm or get you to the next crop? You know, how did a disaster payment help you survive and get to the next crop? I mean, that's what they need to hear. How those things that they vote on, those are tough votes for them, especially if they come from urban areas. And they need to know what they do for us is not just about us, it's about the American people and us being able to keep their pantries full and keep our national security strong, because we don't have to depend on another country for food.
Yes, 100%. Could not agree more. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me today. I appreciate it so much. I love all your insight. I love getting to know you as an individual. This was great. Thank you so much.
Well, I enjoy it, and I just hope everyone out there will see the strengths and the opportunities in Farm Bureau and come be part of our Farm Bureau family. I promise you we'll welcome you in with open arms, and you will accomplish things that you don't think you'll ever be able to do. And I wish everybody to have a great day, and God will bless you all day long.